Hello and welcome to Leviathan News. It's December 19th. I hope you guys all have your Christmas shopping done, like well within the time that actually today's probably the last day that you can get Amazon orders off. Maybe you can sell off some of your crypto. You're coming into the holiday season. You should be doing some tax loss harvesting, maybe giving away to charity, or making some political donations and trying to bring about better outcomes for crypto in the United States if you are a burger. And today we have a good friend of mine, Alex Chizik, who is the COO of the Digital Chamber of Commerce in Washington. He's the guy that's on Capitol Hill meeting with all the senators, explaining things to them, and helping push a pro-crypto agenda in Washington. So welcome, Alex.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on, Sam. Good seeing you again. It's been a little bit.
So Alex and I worked together at OKCoin, now OKX, for quite a while. Alex left, and I went into the DeFi space, and Alex went to Washington. And so,
That's good.
Yeah. So what exactly do you do there? Do you just like pick up the phone all day, firing off letters?
Who knows? Well, yeah. Look, thanks for having me on. As Sam said, we were together, OKCoin, OKX. We went our separate ways, but Sam and I would have long walks in Miami and discussions of all things DeFi and all things crypto. And my whole background isn't lobbying or policy, but with the regulation being so tragically bad in the U.S., I thought maybe we can lend a hand. So we do pick up the phone quite a bit. My role is trying to stand up the trade operations of the trade. It's actually quite complex, but we answer. There's a bunch of different trades in Washington, and I think what makes us stand out is a few things. We're the more even-keeled trade association, so on Twitter and so on, where we keep our voice fairly even-keeled, and that helps us get into a lot of doors in Congress. We also happen to represent a lot of the major, more buttoned-up institutional players like the Fidelities, the BNY Mellons, some of the banks, as well as crypto-native companies, Stellar, Avalanche, and so on. As well as the exchanges. OKCoin is one, and I mean you can see our numbers on the website. Well, look, we have our hands in pretty much every major piece of legislation that either comes from Congress or we stop from coming from Congress, like some of Elizabeth Warren's bills, and we push back against those fairly heavily. And we're the ones that most people in Congress turn to over probably many other trade associations and or groups, so we can get into many doors. And the reason why we do that is, again, we're fairly even-keeled. We try to acknowledge that there are problems that we need to solve and consumer protections that we need to have, but also we're fighting pretty hard for the space. And in fact, we're almost fighting for the U.S. not to fumble the ball more than we're fumbling the ball, because the state of regulation has been atrocious. It's a long fight and long slog. I know a lot of people are tired and frustrated with the progress and how slow it is. And look, we are as well. There's some things in Congress we can't avoid, and I can tell you some anecdotes, and sometimes Congress people can't avoid them as well. We could talk about, for example, if you guys want, when there was no speaker in the House, and how even the Republicans had no idea what was happening. So, like, if they have no idea what's happening day to day, that's like, let alone pushing crypto legislation, when they have the defense and they have, the heads of the different defense branches of the military to fill. So long story short, we're on the Hill. We have a whole policy department that answers letters, that writes policy papers. So it pretty much lives on the Hill in Senate and in the House. And, we're pushing for the space.
So how many suits did you have to buy when you came back to Washington?
8.
A lot.
8. 8 combinations of, like a suit, brown shoes, a suit, black shoes. Remember, what was that? That was the
I know that one. It's
but
like
why
a man.
if there's only 7 days a week?
You gotta look good, like 8 tops times 8 pants. It's 64 times 2 different colors of shoes. That's 128 combinations of of various attires. That's like a third of the year I can basically wear a different style of clothes. So
And you couldn't dress up for this interview though.
I thought this is pretty good. Yeah, I got to keep it crypto. I got to keep it a little casual. Here we go. Look at that. How about is this a little better? Now am I more DeFi and in DGen now?
So what's your power tie color?
My power tie.
Yes.
Oh, it has to be just blood red. I just
Or do you change ties based on who you're meeting with? Like if you're meeting with the Dems, are you wearing a blue tie? Meeting with Republicans, you're wearing a red tie?
I love it. I just go pink through and through, just
well, come spring, right? Like
that's right. Then fall, it's a fall colors. You got to have a little bit of a darker. In the spring, everything's blossoming. We're gonna have the crypto summer in 2024 spring. It's funny. I actually, all jokes aside, I kind of think back my career as I've gone through it. I've had very different styles of dress, which kind of sucked because I had to redo my wardrobe. After business school, I went to consulting, and consulting was it was like very smart but sleek business casual. So all my shirts I had to get tailored, like literally every single shirt. Then I went to Microsoft, and in Microsoft,
you have a lot of this.
It was like all drip jeans and t-shirts. I would go into Seattle in like a nice shirt, and people would look at me weird, like, well, who is this guy? So I had to go back all to jeans. Then I was running a PE company, and like I was representing the company in front of either the PE fund or like Samsung and Apple that were clients. I had to go back to wearing like consulting clothes. And then OKCoin, I don't know what were we wearing at OKCoin. It was like t-shirts and whatever. And now it's suits. So it's like wholesale changes of wardrobe. But yeah, gotta look the part.
So how exactly does policy get made or get kind of lobbied through a trade organization like yours? Do you guys like sit down internally and like come up with guidance that you're like distributing out? Like how do you like build that policy in the first place?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So it's probably twofold. One is we plan for the year. So there are certain things that we want to make sure that we get done. Stable coins, security versus commodity issues, better and clear regulation of or stopping the whole regulation around nodes, for example, and like in Elizabeth Warren's bill of saying that any node runner, has to use KYC, essentially is now a bank. So those are kind of major chunks, right? That we need to push through. Outside of that, our industry moves so fast that things just come up. Lawsuits, we write amicus briefs. So we're very Bitcoin centric, but we've written amicus briefs for exchanges. We did it for Coinbase. We did it for Binance. We wrote the amicus briefs for tokens, Ripple. Actually, the judge used our argument in her final argument of our amicus brief. So the Ripple community, I think, was mad at us before that we didn't submit the amicus brief soon enough. But there are legal requirements. You can't just like send it in. We did it right away. Now they're happy with us because the judge Torres used the argument. And then we have like FinCEN. So there's like big chunks, right? Then the other chunks are things that come up, and then in the middle are Treasury wants to understand NFTs, or FinCEN wants comments on XYZ. So we have to address those so that we're addressing it from a good point of view of the industry, and we work very collaboratively. So we have working groups within the company. AML, KYC, tax, accounting. By the way, accounting, the FASB standard, we've been pushing that forever. Proof of reserves, we've been pushing that for 3 years, way before FTX. And had they actually listened, we would not potentially would have been in the place where we have been. And so we work with our working groups, and there's usually a few leaders of the working groups, prominent law firm, Baker Hostetler or Clifford Chance or DLA Piper, or pretty much major law firms in the space. Perkins Coie did, these guys are like OGs in crypto and did things way back in 2013, 2014 when this wasn't even an industry. And also us, our members, and some of the big firms, tax and accounting, Deloitte, plays a big role. And so we're able to push out product that's very, very thought through and has all the aspects of, our lawyers are all main lawyers are former SEC officials. The person that leads our our token alliance working group, which is essentially security versus commodity. She's the chair of the SEC Alumni Association. So it's like very prominent people plus very prominent law firms, and we get a very nuanced response. When government comes to us, we also get very nuanced amicus briefs and so on and so forth. And then the final piece is the government relations. Is when Elizabeth Warren comes up with her bills, somebody has to go and knock on doors and say, hey, don't sign up for this bill. Don't assign your name because of XYZ, right? And that's typically us. Other people are doing it as well. But again, we build relationships with every major office on the House and Senate side. And then the last thing I'll say, I know it's probably a long answer, but we do these things once a month where we do fly-ins, and we take folks, our members typically, other than one day where it's called the Education Day, where we have an annual conference, and we take anybody who wants to join, and we take them to the Hill, and we literally go office to office with our members, so that members of Congress can see that crypto and digital assets and Bitcoin is a real business. We did it with Bitcoin miners, for example. We took all the CEOs of the major companies, and there's a different conversation when a member of Congress is sitting across the table from a CEO who's telling them about the jobs they're creating, about the capex they're putting in the ground, and so on and so forth. And that helps change the narrative. So there's an educational component to it.
So I know that the opponents of...
I'm sorry, go on. Go ahead.
So I know that some of the opponents of cryptocurrency have characterized like this kind of like nebulous big crypto lobbying industry that they like to liken as like this dark money group of shadowy supercoders that essentially runs things in DC. Whereas I feel like as a crypto proponent myself, I feel like we're like underrepresented. Is the truth somewhere in the middle?
We're completely underrepresented, I think. Here, talking from the big bad, apparently super lobbyist that I am. I'm not a registered lobbyist. We have our folks going and doing this. We are completely underrepresented. And I think what we do, in fact, I'll just point something out because it's a bit of unspoken elephant in the room. What we do the worst as an industry is donate money. And I'm not just saying that because there is some conflict of interest, because obviously the funds, we're a nonprofit. We use the funds to push out programming. But the amount of money the traditional finance raises, big tech and so on, through their trade associations, makes us look like a little, we're like children. And they're, if they're the NBA, we're like, the kids, the 11-year-olds playing basketball on some random court, in the middle of the city. I mean, it's like night and day. And so while it's all nice and easy to characterize us as these shadowy super bankers or super coders or super lobbyists or whatever we want to call ourselves, we need a lot more help. And I think the issue with our industry is that, even take Bitcoin maximalists, right? Ultimately, at its heart, a Bitcoin maxi says Bitcoin will happen with or without the U.S. And I think that's a completely wrong position to take, because crypto and Bitcoin and DeFi will absolutely happen with or without the U.S. It's just going to be a lot more happy and a lot more pleasant and a lot faster for all of us if it happens with the U.S., because the money is here. This is by far the biggest and most stable financial market in the world. And a lot of the big traditional firms want to get in. This wall of Wall Street money is there. The issue is that we're not accessing it, and we're not very good at raising funds. So we're trying to do what some of the other folks are trying to do with the Fair Shake Super PAC that was launched. Is actually starting to funnel money. But even look, to all the credit to Brian Armstrong and the Winklevoss twins and Andreessen Horowitz and all these guys, they raised this Fair Shake Super PAC. It's amazing, great. It's $78 million, right? But guys, we're talking about $78 million from some of the most prominent crypto billionaires out there. You know, Like it's 78 million. It's great. Like I'm super happy. They're raising more than we can raise for sure, right? We wouldn't be able to raise that amount. We're working on it right off the get go. We won't be able to. But you're talking about Andreessen, you're talking about the Winklevoss, you're talking about Brian Armstrong, you're talking about Brad Garlinghouse from Ripple. 78 is a good start, but it's just that it's a good start.
It's a good start. Yeah. No, but I mean, it's better than nothing, right? And, you know, they have their own like legal claims and OPEX for their own companies as well, too. So, you know, for anybody else that's at home, you know, we're coming into the end of the year. There are ways to make donations with your crypto that you can potentially offset some of your taxes. That's something to maybe take a look at in these last weeks and support something good inside of Washington. So you just like show up at these Congress people's offices with a giant policy binder and handing out sheets saying, you know,
binders full of policy,
binders full of
like
policy.
Romney's old. Well, sometimes we actually do. I wish I had one here that I could share some pamphlets that I don't have one on me, but we do sometimes. Most of the time it is with an ask, right? Actually, most of the time they contact us. Gilbrand, Lummis, all the major players that, you know, are crypto supporters contact us.
Yeah.
And hey, this is coming down, or hey, we're thinking about writing this. What do you think? You know, what should we do with it? And then we opine and help them. Sometimes our members are like business members, not members of Congress, come to us and say, hey, you know, XYZ is happening with this tax rule, right? Tax and accounting are fairly boring things, right? Nobody cares about them other than this FASB change to fair value accounting is one of the major milestones in the industry. Okay. Like some of the tax rules around when and how you recognize Bitcoin for miners is a major deal. And so some of these, this is like the legal and financial and accounting infrastructure that we need to lay for the institutions to come in, because they're not coming in without it. The ETF is one, the FASB rules is another. These are, again, major watershed moments that we work on. But yeah, when we go to Congress, you have a leave behind. Oftentimes, you know, you come in and if you're just a pleasant person, you know, like these staffers are kids that are overworked kids, you know, they're 1 to 2 years out of college and they're just running around and they have to think about crypto, and you know, the senior aides are very well informed, but a lot of the people that are working are just overworked. And you know, and you come in and you're just a breath. If you come in firing and you're, you know, hot and heavy, it's not pleasant. You just want to end the conversation really quickly. If you come in and you're pleasant and decent and you're like, yeah, no, we have problems, but here's how to fix those problems. That's the best way to say it, right? Hey, there was illicit finance on crypto, even though we all agree that it's minute and small. Okay, there is. Here's what we should do, right? We're doing a series to train law enforcement of how to look at blockchains and track illicit activity. We know that they actually want to do this, right? But instead of avoiding the issue, I think we can lean into the issue and say, okay, here's why actually blockchains are great to track illicit finance. Here's how you stop it, right? It's whatever, 0.5% versus everything else. But let's eliminate it. It's a very different conversation than, no, you're wrong, et cetera, et cetera. Like, especially in this polarized world, yelling at someone, telling them they're wrong, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work anymore, right? And so we're super entrenched in our own camps. So the only way to create this divide is to just be nice, just be pleasant.
So Gary, you've been running a pack as well too, haven't you?
I wouldn't call it a pack, although it was poorly named as a pack DAO. There was an acronym of People Advocating for Crypto, but this was very much a product of the bull market when you know, everyone was like at their all-time high of excitement, and we got started with this concept of like, could we put funds in a smart contract that could be given or issued upon completion with certain actions, those being like actions favorable towards crypto. And the use case definitely was like we were able to get people donating funds because we gave them commemorative NFTs if they did such things. But it didn't actually prove very effective at kind of like influencing action on the other side, and we didn't do a good job of networking in. So we also looked at some other things like building an on-chain congressional scorecard, which was cool, but also like widely underutilized. So having completed these, like we still have this organization that kind of has like a bit of a treasury and like some coders sitting around like looking for ways that we can make ourselves useful. But it really seems like any attempts to like build on-chain tools to kind of streamline this process like fly in the face of reality, which in my observation is that like the hardcore use case for like how to influence legislation in DC is really the old-fashioned work that Alex you're doing, like the going to cocktail parties, trying to insert yourself in the conversation, trying to know who the right people to talk to are. And at the moment, it doesn't seem like that can be replicated on chain. Oh no, your thoughts on that?
I think it's a super interesting idea. Without going into too much detail, we've dabbled and kicked around some ideas around that same thing. It's probably a longer term play. Maybe we'll reach out and we'd love to talk to you about your experience with this, and probably a little bit more of a deeper conversation for a different time. Not ready to say anything yet. However, you're right that initially, right now, it's a look, politics, all of this is influence. It's just influence, right? And if we go back to our root of kids in the playground, it's just about liking each other, right? It's just about creating some sort of human connection. From that human connection, you start influencing people to see the light. In our case, right? We want to orange pill as many people as we can. And that is a fundamentally very human game, right? It's a very human activity. You have to be presentable. You have to be liked. By the way, I don't know how often you guys meet politicians, but one thing that was both a surprise to me as well as probably not that big of a surprise, if you think about it, is every politician that I've ever met, every single one, either side of the aisle, no matter how far to the ends of the spectrum they are, or the middle, every single person has one common trait, and that is they are extremely personable. They just you just want to every one of them you just want to go grab a beer with, because that is their business. Their business is to be liked, is to be identified by the constituents that vote them in. And this goes, again, even your most hated politician. I bet you if we all came down and found Elizabeth Warren in a bar, and I haven't met her. I haven't personally met her. But outside of politics, be like, pretty cool lady to have a drink with. That is their job. Their job is to figure out how to be liked. And so it's a very human, high-touch game. And I don't think that's going to change, for the foreseeable future. So we have to play that game.
Well, I guess my next question would be that, is it strange that the politics of crypto in Washington, how there can be such a divide where, you have people essentially calling for it to be outlawed versus other people saying, hey, the technology is here. Let's just build solid rules around it, make sure that companies can operate inside the United States, can flourish and grow, rather than trying to shut an industry down. Because it's strange to me that, at least in this cycle, it's become such a divisive issue between the parties.
It is. It's. You're right. You're spot on. It's strange, and unfortunately, the open secret here is that it wasn't like this. It was completely bipartisan up until Sam Bankman-Fried. He ruined, guys. He set us back so far, so far. Sorry.
Can you expand on that?
Because of all the money that he donated to Democrats, it
was embarrassing.
And it's embarrassing, and publicly embarrassed them that Democrats have completely flipped. Now it's like, okay, you crypto, I don't want to say bad, I want to keep it PG on here. Yeah, exactly. You crypto broods. That's right. Okay, you embarrassed us. We'll show you. I don't think nobody's saying this, right? This is not anything overt, but you could feel it. It's like, all right, you embarrassed us. Here we go. Let's play. And they're playing for keeps. And they're playing with the gloves are off. The gloves are really off. And you could feel it. And so, and this is why, when I say, hey, we need help. We do need help because sometimes I feel like we're like Jon Snow in the last bastion on the wall. It's like winter's coming and everybody else is in their own land hanging out and enjoying themselves. But guys, it's tough, right? We're inundated. We're also very overworked here. We have more work, more comments, more things to respond to than we have frankly hours in the day or people.
I just see it as like Coinbase is a great American company, founded in America, run by Americans, went public, which is like the most American thing that you can do, right? Is to have an IPO. And honestly, it's literally the pinnacle of American exceptionalism is to have your company listed on a national stock exchange. It just means that you've reached a modicum of success, and that you're generating enough revenues, and that you have the desire to open your company up to the public, which I think is very, capitalistic and American enterprise. And so it just same thing goes with like the miners as well too. We all know that Bitcoin miners can help with energy issues, especially at the margins, out in these kind of middle of nowhere places that we know they're like flaring gas, or they have huge swings in the electrical output on a daily basis. And it's really unfortunate that this technology that can empower a lot of companies to make significant changes within the world, as well as employ many people within the United States, are demonized to the way they are for seemingly trivial things.
Completely right, but look at Tesla, who transformed the American auto industry from an EV perspective. Biden doesn't invite Elon Musk to the White House, and lauds GM and GM's electric car sales. Exactly.
GM,
I just saw a story the other day that like GM's like pretty much failed at their EV rollout. Like
EVM rollout. They should definitely
EVM
rollout as well. For sure. But this is politics, and it's unfortunate. And we represent most of the Bitcoin miners. We're actually pretty strong in that area. And we had about a month ago a closed door meeting with them here in DC. It's like the heads of the families have come together, from The Godfather, and it's very collegial actually with them, because this whole industry is very collegial. We all move up together. We've taken them to Congress, but we're also working on a. Did you guys see the KPMG paper about Bitcoin is good for ESG? Well, the KPMG pushed forward a paper that Bitcoin can actually be good for ESG and started changing the narrative, especially with BlackRock and the ETF that's coming. The narrative is changing. We're working on a B2 with KPMG to talk about demand response. And we have data, we see data on the ground that actually Bitcoin mining fundamentally solves a lot of energy issues and helps to decarbonize our environment, helps to incentivize green energy build outs. I'm happy to talk about it if you guys want or not. I know you guys are much more DeFi focused, but that is an incredible and necessary part of the ecosystem. And I think the narrative is changing. But again, SBF guys set us back. Well, now at least 2 years, if not more. The climate with Democrats before SBF did his thing was bipartisan. We have people pro crypto on both sides as well as people against crypto on both sides, and it really shifted. There are still some Democrats, Richie Torres, Gillibrand, others that are pro and that are openly pro and openly speak out for the industry, but it's nowhere near what it was before. And even some of the folks that have been pro are they're more timid now. They're kind of they're being very conservative. So next year, the election, votes matter, and the election will matter, and we have to come out strong for pro crypto candidates. Call your congressman, call your senator. These calls are important. It's a completely skewed sample, right? It's not representative of the entire population. But what's actually interesting is that they respond to it because they hear people like yelling at them about a certain issue. And so when you have a lot of calls, like, wow, people are calling, they're very passionate, and they're and it matters to them.
Yeah, we've had Austin Campbell. I don't know if you've met him, but we've had him on the show quite a lot.
Yeah.
DeFi Advisor just shared this thread with me where he's like, I never thought that I'd see the day when Elizabeth Warren has become a proud champion of the big banks. She wrote this letter, 20 years ago during the Occupy movement. She was one of the big supporters of that. And maybe the lessons of 2008 we've forgotten at this point. It's been almost 15 years now. And here we are where, Warren's up there grandstanding, essentially putting Jamie Dimon on the stand and letting him say those things to her. It's kind of crazy, right? The flip that we've seen.
There's one big misnomer about Warren. Somebody posted on Twitter. That she's introduced 300 bills and only one is passed. I think it's a completely dangerous misnomer, and the reason is because she doesn't use bills. There's different ways of passing parts of bills. There's omnibuses. Basically, you write a bill and you have like 30 things in there, and you really care about 4. Some of them are red herrings to take away negotiations. Some of them get pulled out and put into other bills. Some of them get pulled out and put in omnibus. But overall, she's changing the narrative. Okay. Yeah. She's changing the narrative, and that's what matters.
She pushes the Overton window on the idea of what's acceptable for legislation. So it doesn't have to pass, but it could be incorporated at a later date with inside of these bills.
Exactly. And you say, look, Trump did this, right? Let's think about what Trump does very well. Trump always does social media and kind of social persuasion very well. I'm the best. I'm the best. I'm the best. I'm the best. And you're like, oh, he's the best. He's the best businessman. He says it enough times and people believe it. It's just it's human psychology. Warren, illicit finance. Jamie Dimon decided to talk about illicit finance. Jamie Dimon knows where all the terrorism money gets funded. They know, these CEOs know their banks pay billions of dollars per year in fines, like for sanctions violations or this and that. It even if they're not trying to do it, it happens because criminals always find a way. I have this analogy. It's like somebody can kill someone with a knife, right? So should we outlaw steak knives and butter knives because somebody can die from a stab wound? These guys know. And so Elizabeth Warren, she's very good about raising money on this anti-crypto issue. Very, very good. Very effective. All her people read crypto Twitter, guys. All her people read crypto Twitter. So, we're all loud out there. We hate her. They love it. It's like a badge of honor for them. It's like it's a badge of honor for us. If Elizabeth Warren comes out and says, so-and-so and calls someone else out, you're like, yes, it's a badge of honor. They have the same thing.
So what's the right way for us as a community to fight back? Because it doesn't seem like arguing in good faith necessarily matters. Like, evidence, whatever, no one's going to care. Like, what's the best way for us as like armchair internet keyboard warriors to move the dialogue forward?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. 3 things. 1, truly call your representatives in the US, like periodically. It just takes a second. You call your representative. Hello, this is the office of so-and-so. Hi, I'm Alex, and I live at, in this town that you're representing. I am a crypto owner, and I believe that your anti-crypto stance, or we should be pro-crypto because it helps with U.S. jobs and so on and so forth. What is your stance on crypto? Oh, well, I really implore the senator to take a second look at the industry because it helps the underprivileged, it changes lives, and it banks the unbanked, right? That's the Democratic message. The Republican message is more libertarian. Hey, and it's the fundamental American freedom and its property rights. Click. 2 weeks later, hey guys, I'm calling. You have your representative. You have 2 senators. You have 3 people to call. Just do it. That's one. And I cannot tell you how important this is and how much they actually listen to this. It seems trivial. It seems stupid, but they listen. It matters. It actually matters. I think 2 is find the cause. I would love it to be us, but if we're not the only game in town, there are others as well. People take donations, donate, because we take the funds and we use them to, frankly, hire more people to fight the fight. And then 3 is vote. Like, it's critical. It's critical. Elections have consequences, and we as an industry need to collectively reward politicians that are pro or punish politicians that are against.
Yeah.
And you do that with donations and with votes.
You know, the unfortunate thing is that this year marks the 10th year from the hack of Mt. Gox and the loss of a huge amount of Bitcoin at the time because of bad practices within the exchange. And it's really like we've learned nothing from that time period, and we've instituted like 0 rules for these exchanges that would prevent that from happening again. You would think that when there was a loss of funds at Quadriga CX, Canada within a year completely rewrote all their crypto legislation and imposed heavy restrictions on the crypto exchanges that operate inside of Canada, so that those circumstances never happen again. And you know, we had that time. I mean, Quadriga happened at least a year, maybe a year and a half before FTX happened, and you know, we still don't have any legislation. So it's almost as if this inability to pass anything just enables further malfeasance and grifters to come into the space, because they don't have clear rules, right? Like, all these companies want to do, the good companies like Coinbase, which has never had a hack, has operated very well, never lost customer funds, and done everything possible to operate within the law, is under the crosshairs, while we have, you know, these dodgy exchanges that are now operate offshore or in different jurisdictions that, you know, really got to pass and led to unfortunate circumstances like with what happened with FTX.
Yeah. Look, I I couldn't agree more with you. The longer we wait to pass regulation, sensible regulation, the worse it is for us. We're going to be regulated. Okay, that there's just that's kind of a done deal. And actually, no regulation again is bad for us, because it depends on what we want. You know, you want crypto adoption for the masses. We need to protect the, you know, Joe Grandma or Joe Grandpa and Mary Grandma. We need or we want, you know, the number go up. We need Wall Street money. Wall Street money isn't coming into an unregulated space. Goldman Sachs is not risking 99.9% of the business right now, right, for 0.1%, and having and having the regulators come after them. So we need regulation. Once we have regulation, once we have stable coins, and then once we have security versus commodity, plus ETF, plus now that's done, essentially done, plus FASB, essentially done, guys, we're off to the races.
Yeah,
really off to the races to mass adoption.
I don't know if it works within the U.S. structure, but after Quadriga, Canada essentially said, like, all the crypto that you have on an exchange somewhere is a debt, right? You don't actually own that crypto, and so the like it's all securities, right? So like the crypto itself is like if you own it in a wallet somewhere, it's under different structures. But like if Coinbase was holding crypto for you, they give you an IOU, right? And so these are all securities now. And they also separated the custodian part of it to where the custodians for exchanges are not the exchanges themselves. You have a third-party custodian who has their own independent auditors and is taking care of customer funds. And you know, these seem like pretty simple rules that could be implemented like tomorrow, and would probably solve a lot of the issues that we have within the states, and would have prevented an FTX as well too. But you know, no one's doing anything with it. There's no clear path to being a regulated and well-functioning company, and the indeterminate indecision is really a setback for everyone, even the consumers mostly.
You'll be surprised at how often sensible regulation that is supported by both parties is torpedoed at the not even the 11th hour and 59th minute by a political, recently Democratic and the Democratic side agenda. And stablecoins is one of them.
And there's been a stablecoin bill now for sitting in Congress for almost 2 years now.
Yeah. They're close. They were always close. We're hoping for next year for it to finally happen already. There are some key aspects that from a policy regulatory perspective matter. State pathway is one, but it just has to do with federally chartered banks versus state chartered banks, like who has rights where. And but the majority of the bill has been agreed on, and even on the Democratic side. And there are just torpedoes of, oh, well, this agency from the White House comes in and says, wait, hold. And then the Democrats hold. And so it's unfortunate. Again, stablecoins should be an easy one. This should be a layup.
Yeah.
Hey, back your stuff with treasuries and tell us monthly that it's backed with treasuries. Okay, like you get $1, buy dollars worth of treasuries. We're good, more or less. That's the outline of stablecoins, right? It's like, let's just get that done. Forget programmatic right now. Like
you even have like NYDFS coming to Congress and saying, like, look at our regulations that we've had in New York, the strictest state to operate a crypto company in the entire world. Look what we've done. It's been operating successfully. We've been able to shut down BUSD because they were doing strange things and under collateralized at times. Paxos has been a great player in the industry, and just like, look at us, what we've done at the state level. This should work. I mean, that should be a layup. And New York's a Democratic state as well too.
Yeah.
They have like clear analytical and legal precedents that they can look at in determining the stable coin. It should be a layup, honestly. Like it boggles me why it's not.
It boggles us. I mean, but we're almost there. And you're like, oh, it's about to happen, and it doesn't. And you're just like you want to kick yourself, but it's like, okay, fell off the horse, got to get back up on the horse, go talk to them again. There was an article, I think in CoinDesk, probably a month and a half ago or 2 months ago. It was about the BA, the Blockchain Association, which is another trade. And it was like the crypto lobbyists doing anything. There's record money spent on crypto lobbyists. And it's very hard, like not to defend them, but to defend them a little bit. It's very hard to, because we have different approaches, but we're essentially doing the same thing. It's very hard to prove a counterfactual. If it wasn't for us, then this might have happened and screwed you, But truly, guys, it's really hard to impress this upon people because, again, traditional finance is kind of easy to measure. I invested $100, and 3 months later, it's $200. Oh, wow, 100% return. It's math. It's black and white. It's very hard to say, hey, if it wasn't for us, Warren's bill would have 20 more co-signers. And when that happens, now it starts picking up steam and so on and so forth, right? Or, frankly, hey, Warren's bill might be a red herring for right now because there's a bill called CAN-C, which is 70% of Warren's bill, but that one actually has legs and might move and has a lot of the similar requirements. So who's going to be the people that are there telling the industry, hey, don't look at the shiny object here because the goal is actually over here, right? And we need to be fighting both. But that's us. Yeah.
Hypothetically, what might move things forward the most would be in the next cycle if some sort of SBF character emerges, minus the fraud, that just builds a successful crypto business that donates heavily towards Democratic politicians. Would that actually move the needle?
I think so. I think that will move the needle, and getting pro-crypto candidates in office. In my mind, it's like voting more Republican, save Trump. Because if Trump is in office, again, this is just me speaking. This is not the chamber's position. This is just purely Alex, projecting. But I think if Trump comes to office, then you have no idea what's going to happen. He has like a vendetta on his mind, and who knows where he's going to go. But Republicans are generally more favorable. Although you have RFK that's openly a Bitcoiner, and RFK Jr. that's running kind of this third party / Democratic ticket. So there's that. But then you have DeSantis is pro, Vivek is pro. A lot of the Republican candidates are pro in the House. A lot of them are pro in the Senate. They're pro. It's very close to the ethos. So we don't want to get. I don't think we want to get torpedoed with a wild card that can do and say whatever he wants to completely derail us into some crazy agenda, right? But I think with Gensler at the SEC, there's just very little chance of anything meaningful moving. And people are excited about the Ethereum ETF. I think the Ethereum ETF is a long ways out, and the Ethereum ETFs will have problems with yield and staking. So I don't think it's going to be as exciting as the Bitcoin ETF, which is, it's pretty much a done deal at this point, right? So there's the voting part and an SBF, a benevolent SBF. But again, Democrats are a little worried about taking money now, right? Everyone is from crypto, but Democrats specifically. I think 2024 is the prelude to 26. 26 will be where we need to meaningfully start making changes at the House and Senate, and 2028 is going to be our Super Bowl. 2028 is where we really need to start playing the game, and if we haven't geared up to 2028 as an industry, well, then shame on us, right? They really shame on us. But we have to start in 24. I want to win a couple key races in 24. Take out a couple of anti-crypto candidates. Put in a few crypto candidates. The open secret is Sherrod Brown in Ohio is very vulnerable, and the whole industry is going after him. He's second to Warren, and he's been pressured already. So he came out and said, "Oh, Warren's bills are not going to address some of the things she wants to address." He's been pressured. He knows the crypto industry is kind of is out for his seat because he's very vulnerable in general. But there are others as well. So we're playing the game. We're trying to map out the map and see who can, who we can place and who can nudge out of office. And I know others are as well. The fair shake, there's two different ways of also doing it. There's one of donating money to the pro candidates. That's like the AICPA. Not AICPA, APAC, excuse me, ACPA, the APAC model. Like if you're pro-Israel, you get money. If you're not, you don't get money. I think that's one way of doing it. The NRA way is running ads and actually getting people out, right? There's a different kind of way of getting politicians in.
What about primary challenges? Because it used to be the case kind of before SBF came along that the divide to me looked much more like young versus old, where there was just like, for whatever reason, like a bunch of like older politicians who objected, and you got the younger sets on both parties that like seemed for it. Like, could there be an opportunity to primary some of like the most egregious anti-crypto politicians?
There could. I mean, the primaries are a little bit the answer is yes. Yes. We just have to make sure that the candidate that wins the primary can also win their general or whatever, the Republican against the Democrat against the Republican. Because a lot of times the primary candidate is very kind of red meat, is for a certain niche. It's going to get them in to race against the other party, and then they can't win that election. So there's a lot of degrees of freedom here, but there are certain key races. Again, Sherrod Brown is one where you can actually move folks up. I've met a bunch of pro crypto younger primary challengers. One in Southern California, around in Berkeley, but it's going to be hard for them to unseat their incumbent, right? And again, money is an issue, right? The way people raise money is quite important. And as an industry, again, vote, call, and please donate money. Not only to us. I mean, I would love it. And maybe we can share the link to donate, but to politicians that are pro crypto politicians, it's quite important.
So we're going to include the link for the Digital Chamber of Commerce. You can donate. Is it in cash, or do you guys take crypto as well too?
Take crypto. If you put an amount, but if you click continue, there's BitPay, and you can pay with whatever crypto you want, or credit card, or whatnot. And I've been told that we need to put Ethereum links straight directly to the wallets, which we'll work on and hear this feedback.
Tax deductible. You guys are a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Right. So everybody that's coming into the end of this year and that has some gains, hopefully we're all sitting on some bags going up. I mean, Bitcoin's 2x from the bottom last year. If you want to defer some of your tax obligations, then you can make donations. So please come and donate. Also donate to the politicians. Wait, is that tax deductible as well too?
Political donations, no, they're not. I have to
Okay.
put that thing back. But guys, we need to do it. I know there's tax loss harvesting and lowering of taxes, but look, seriously, it's a very important year. It's a very, very important year. At some point, like bring in your inner JFK, ask not what crypto can do for you, but what you can do for crypto. So, or digital assets or DeFi or Bitcoin, whatever it is. We're all in it together right now, right? We can have these squabbles later about Bitcoin versus Ethereum and all the other bullshit. But right now we're all in it together. We have an existential kind of threat. And so, step up for the industry. I think it's quite important that all of us do our parts. I mean, we believe in it. We had bags pump for 150% or more if you're in. It's some deep alts that Sam Yu used to get me into, and so it's important.
Is Saylor up on the Hill campaigning?
No, but he's well. I can't speak for him. He's a member of the chamber. We've had many conversations with him.
Because those FASB rules really help him with his MicroStrategy company.
Yes, we're gonna do some things with him. I can't spoil it, but we're gonna do some things with him throughout 24.
Nice.
That are pushing this forward. Yeah.
Well, I guess last question. What's your favorite restaurant to have your lobbying meetings at in DC?
There's a place called the Monocle actually by the Hill. A lot of people go there. It's like a little bar, and it's if you're ever in DC, go to the Monocle, and you'll see a lot of politicians there. My favorite restaurant is actually there's no lobbying, but there's a little place in DC if you're ever in DC called Regent Thai. It's right in a pretty popular area of town, and like it's empty, but it's delicious Thai food. It's just incredible. But if you want to see some politicians, the Monocle.
Is it only going food, or is the influence better and the lobbying there better?
You grab your bourbon, and you sit at the bar, and you'll see people come in and come out. It's just constant. It's just constant.
And there goes the legislation.
That's right.
What's the famous one? It's like Capitol Grill.
There was the Palm and DuPont where Tucker Carlson used to go to all the time. But the Monocle, it's right on. It's like Capitol Hill North, and it's a pretty popular place.
Well,
Cool.
For anybody who wants to help, you can reach out and get in touch with Alex at Mr. EBITDA on Twitter. Also make a donation as well too. Let me pull that back up. You can come and make a donation to help give to crypto. And
What's the website there?
digitalchamber.org/donate is the website, and it's here to help you in your crypto industry. So cool, Alex. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, guys. Anytime. We should do this. We should do this again.
Yeah.
Sure.
Feel free to bring some politicians back on next time. We'd love to.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, that's actually good.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. And I hope everybody learned some stuff about like lobbying and pushing a pro crypto industry.
And restaurants in Washington.
Yeah. And restaurants in Washington as well, too.
Awesome, Washington.
All right.
Thanks,
everybody.
guys.
Bye.
Thanks for having me on.
Bye, folks.